Good evening and good morning if it's in Europe. So I am Bruce, simpler, faster, better, aka the guy in the blue shirt. I am also a proud brand ambassador for a company called 𝒉𝒂. And if you would like to learn how to empower your frontline teams more, either give me a message or you can go to 𝒉𝒂score.com. So I am so honored to be online now with Mr. Rick Ely. And Rick, why don't you jump in and tell us where you're located, and we'll get going on this wonderful building and nurturing wholehearted relationships a little bit more, right?
Awesome. Well, aloha, beautiful beings of light. Bruce, thank you so much for wanting to spend time with me in this space, in your space. And
hang on a minute.
We lose your feed.
Yeah.
It appears to be live.
That's what I thought, but hang on. I'll just remove the destination. What? LinkedIn. This may be LinkedIn's in. It says it's not live on LinkedIn, or view on LinkedIn. Hang on a minute. All right, keep chatting, Rick, just in case. I've never had this before, so this is a new one.
Well, you record them anyway in StreamYard, so you can you can always take it and reference it from the recording and repurpose your content, right? I mean, this is something we can do.
Yeah. All right, cool. All right, so I guess people might be able to see it on YouTube, so let's little snafu there, but yes, I can add it as a replay also from the YouTube when that comes out either late tonight or tomorrow. So
yeah, the fascinating thing about the feeling and the knowing that you're live, right? That you can't get this wrong. You're actually been leading the way, watching, and I've been paying attention from afar, and I greatly appreciate the opportunity to come live with you and spend time building and nurturing a relationship that's just forming, because the truth is we're just getting started. Like we're just getting started. And Bruce, how did we even get to the point where we could get started? What had to happen first in order for us to get started?
Right. So I just got a message. I don't want to cut you off, but I do want to get people to be able to comment. We should be live now on LinkedIn. Gracie Ruth Melendez just said she found it. So we'll see. We'll keep chit-chatting and see where we go. Yes, we are live. So for those of you that might be hopping on late, the first 2 minutes went into La La Land. So we were just talking about some technology things before we went live, and here we go. It went to La La Land. So to answer your question, all of my LinkedIn live guests are either prior connections I've known for a long time, or to answer your question, like you, we started in getting connected through engagement on other people's posts. And then we did a quick follow-up call, and I spoke with you, and you introduced me to your co-founder of PonoQuest. And from that conversation, we decided that, you know what, maybe it would be a great opportunity for us to chit-chat in front of everyone live a little bit more and build those meaningful relationships a little bit more. So that was my recollection. Is that your recollection too?
Well, I'm going to back it up even a little bit further for you, because we have some incredible, beautiful beings of light that, you know, we have in common. Number one, Clifford Starks.
Absolutely.
Right? Clifford Starks was the catalyst. Yes. And then there was Jill Valdez. And Jill Valdez has been going online, following you on LinkedIn and going live. And then there was this Brian, right? And Brian, how do you say Brian's last name?
Mr. Schulman, Brian Schulman,
right? And and then his partner is, what's his partner's name?
Tim Sono.
No, the
Yeah. Anyway, okay. It'll come back to me.
Diane, right? Diane, I want to say is Diane. And so all of these people are connected,
Right.
right?
Yep.
What happened? What happened that it took that the one thing, right? You got this playlist in your mind of how you saw this come together, and it was this chain of events.
Right.
For me,
Mhm.
it's all about the referral. It's all about the one, and I follow the chain.
Right.
And I said the caliber of people. Who do I get to play with? Who are my friends? Who do I want to play with? And I think at a place in life you get to recognize that there's so many different masters, right?
Mhm.
Masters of their own modality, masters of whatever it is that they've mastered personally or professionally, and you'll never touch them. You'll never catch that. You will forever look at it in a lens, like in observation of awe, of wonder, of wow, that is
Right.
freaking awesome. And yet they can teach you and point you in the direction of what you want to experience, right, by emulating what they do,
Mhm.
and building and nurturing wholehearted relationships. What does that mean to me? I found somebody that I could point to, that I could see like the trunk of a great tree, if you
Right.
will, and this is somebody that has been doing this for 40 years, coaching
Mhm.
billionaire CEOs. I want to say this is like the billionaire CEO's best kept secret,
Mhm.
right? Because the guy wrote the book. I mean,
Right.
he's written 4 of them, and I couldn't even comprehend why this isn't being shouted at the rooftop, why LinkedIn members, it like Facebook bleeds emotion, right? But
Mhm.
LinkedIn doesn't even touch the emotional aspect because we're so programmed into how we are to be rather than being that which it is we really want to experience. And when we take culture out of it, when we remove ourselves from the culture and
Mhm.
actually connect with the human being, right, on what it is that, but most people, and please forgive me when I group people up, I say we're so
Mhm.
wired on the hamster wheel to just, go, touch, go, got to go put this in my nuts in my, storable way and go, and we don't breathe into building the
Right.
relationships. And Dusty just created this outline for us, building and nurturing wholehearted relationships. That's why I say I point to him. He's the teacher, he's the author, and I'm really a student.
Right. Well, talking about being a student, actually, before the chain of events that you described, actually, Brian Schulman was the person that was the guy that I looked up to, and I met Brian just by chance at a LinkedIn local LA in-person meeting, and he was there, and he was live streaming. Actually, at that time, his longest ever live stream, and he was there supporting Diana Nguyen, who was the guest speaker all the way from Australia. And Brian was there, and I literally walked around the room, and I almost literally walked into him, and he turned the camera around, and because I had a badge on, and he said, "Hey, Bruce, say something." And he said, "This is LinkedIn video." So that was how I could never ever have imagined that 17 months later, I would have been, you're my 60 something live since I've had LinkedIn Live. So, like you said,
That's noteworthy. I mean, that's like I've been paying attention to Brian since we've been introduced, and San Diego's my hometown. That's where I grew up.
uh huh,
And I had the opportunity to connect with Brian, and we did a little one-on-one, and
yeah,
I
he's amazing.
oh my gosh, man, I mean, talk about presence,
Mm-hmm.
like just being fully present, and the mastery of from where he's come to, to where he is now.
Right.
I really appreciate the show that he puts on, and I know
Mhm.
that the people that he's connecting with, he's building and nurturing those wholehearted relationships. And I feel like I'm out here on the sideline, just, cheering on. And at some point, we're going to build that relationship.
Oh,
Uh,
sure. I
right.
can I can guarantee it. It's
Yeah.
Brian will say, and all the other people that I look up to and emulate. It's the day-to-day consistency, and it's doing the right thing that your heart tells you to do, and it's being kind of unapologetic. That sometimes that might touch on some subjects that are not good for people, or it might touch on some raw emotion that is not in vogue with people, but that's what they do. The great creators keep on creating day by day, and that's exactly how they do it. So
Thank you for wanting to spend time with me, Bruce. How may I serve you? What can I've got plenty to learn about you, and I'm happy to share. I'm kind of an open book. Uh, but what would you
mhm.
like to know? Or
Well, let's go a little bit more with the nurturing the wholehearted relationships. I guess I'm curious to learn what are the kind of top couple of things you've learned about how to do that well, and then maybe a couple of things on that you've learned that have not gone so well. Because I'm a great believer in doing lessons learned from other people, right? And that's actually one of the techniques that I teach people is how to do a guided lessons learned. It can be a super powerful way to make your life simpler, faster, better. So what have you learned that goes well, and what doesn't go so well when you're building those relationships?
Hmm. Well, I think at this point in time, like I think Dusty broke it down into 8 lessons with take
Hmm.
care, right? So
Right.
time,
Hmm.
right? You have to invest the time, the attention, right?
Right.
You have to take the attention means you matter, means
Hmm.
our connection matters, and kindness, right? There really is no cure for kindness.
Right.
There's there's
Sure.
no there's no cure for kindness. And then the enjoyment aspect. Like,
Hmm.
do you really genuinely enjoy the the playfulness with the time spent with another human being? Are you
Right.
enjoying being in their presence? If you're not enjoying being, if you're like, what's the purpose of it, right? So you genuinely have to enjoy wanting to be in somebody's presence. It can't be like, oh, I got to
Right.
come get something and go.
Right.
Hey, I'm here to sell you something. Let's go.
Right.
Go into my box. Pardon me. Go into my funnel now, please. Just hey, see
Right.
you later. Go into my funnle and disappear. No, it's do you really enjoy them? So that's the take part,
Right.
right? And then you have the care. You have the communication, right?
Mhm.
But what's the number one, like, oh, who said it best? In fact, I'm just quoting Dusty. I'm just emulating those that I want to learn and grow from. But
Right.
the truth is communication. Half the time we don't. It doesn't even exist,
Mhm.
right? That's the number one lie, is that it took place, that we actually shared something and communicated and made this connection. That the lie is that it took place, and we just
Mhm.
pass on and go. And so, yeah.
Okay. So where the communication is obviously a absolute key. So I say to people, I think communication should be spelt with a K, because then it would be easier to remember that it's key. Right.
Yeah, it is key. Communication is key, but how are we communicating? At what level? For what purpose? Are we able to get things done? Like,
Right.
what do we want? What's the whole purpose of communicating, getting something done? But unless you have unless you've connected with my heart, unless you've gotten out of my head and into my heart, then we really haven't bridged that gap and really made any communication.
Right.
And that's the illusion that it occurred.
Right.
Right. But unless you've connected with my heart, I've got no real reason to move forward in a direction that's so yeah. What is your probably
Well, the way I would, if I may, the way I would answer that is people see me talking about the difference between meaningful connections and just a connection. And I think what you've just very eloquently described in that communication or connection thing is that's the difference, right? If you're just in your head and just doing the activities of so-called communication, I think that's just a contact. Somebody that becomes a meaningful connection or a meaningful contact is somebody that you do get out of your head with, and you share things around, how can we learn together? How can we help and mutually support each other? What makes a difference for us, good and bad? So it's those more heartfelt communications, not the just, have a nice day type communication. So you just very eloquently described for me that I'm going to use in the future, the difference between just a contact or a connection versus a meaningful connection. So, and it's funny, on these lives, I always discover something brand new, either about the person I'm with or about myself. It's an amazing, it's like taking yourself back to school. It's unbelievable.
Well, for me, the opportunity to be live, like, you can't go back, you can't rewind, you can't take back that. Like, I want to go to my notes and I want to pull out the 8 pages that Dusty provided and breaking down the acronym, take care and communication and the worksheet and the interactive listening and the power questions. And there's a simple rule, like, why do you have 2 ears and one mouth?
Right.
So the A is for accountability. Right. That's the part that's rare, that unless you have somebody, unless your accountability means you matter, our connection matters.
Yeah.
Right. And at the end of the day, if you want to really get deep into it, the only person that you're really accountable to at the end of the day, you're accountable to yourself. So are you going to show up fully alive, fully accountable with your intention? And am I showing up in a place where my people can recognize that? Can they test me in that? Can they call me on the mat in that? Am I laying myself out in a way vulnerably to give them permission to speak into my life? Am I being accountable?
Right.
Am I vulnerable? Am I exposed? Look, help me with my blind spots. Tell me what I don't see.
Right.
These are the things that are not common in our workspace, in our conversations, and in LinkedIn, but they're so helpful in every aspect of our life. Like, this is the building block. This is the building block. If you take care, right? You just break this. If you take care of you, you're taking care of everyone along the way. And and that the R being standing for respect, right? Respecting another's model of the world, respecting the sovereignty of another human being. right? The absolute sovereignty. Like, I'm no better than, I'm no greater than any other human being. The respect the individual sovereignty of another human being. You have to remove the culture, your own culture, to meet a being where they are in that moment without offense. Like, the only
Right.
offense that occurs is your own disrespect, my own disrespect of bringing my own culture in. Like, we all connect on feeling.
Yep.
That is the language. We all connect on that feeling, and you know when it's for you, and you know when it's against you, and so you can trust yourself when you bring that respect. And then the E is being for engagement, right? I mean,
Right.
engage. This is it. This is play. Engagement is play. It's like, you're going on the merry-go-round, or you're going on the bars, or you're playing in the sea-doos, or in the surf, whatever it is for you.
Right.
But make it play, it engage. And that's how my dear friend and mentor, Dusty Staub, broke it down for me, and take care in 8 worksheets. And it's a priceless gift. It's his gift to us, to the community.
Absolutely. So something I learned there is I find that some people struggle with the word accountability. So I like your shorter word, being alive. So I think if people described, accountability with being alive and being present and doing the twice as much listening with half as much talking, that, that whole communication thing would rapidly improve, right? So I'm going to, if it's okay with you, I'm going to use that. I'm going to try and stop using accountability, because people don't understand that word for sure. They don't understand the difference between accountability and responsibility, that's for sure. Or that's what I find. So I think substituting for a simpler word, because I'm all about making things simpler, faster, better, I'm going to use that and go from there, see where it takes us. See if it makes it easier for people to say, hey, I want you to be alive and be present and be feeling what we're feeling. Because, a lot of people will say, and they're right, it's not that people don't remember what you say, they remember how you made them feel, right?
Yeah, I can remember when my wife and I were struggling at one time, and I told my wife, I said, I can't make you feel anything. Like, you can't. Oh God, boy, was I wrong. Like, some of the lessons that we learn along the way are hard, but I can tell you, Bruce, I've been married almost 22 years, and I am married to my best friend, and I ask her to marry me every day. I propose to my wife. We have 3 adopted children. I couldn't be more blessed in the life that we get to live. And look, it's not without bumps and bruises along the way. My wife is a communications expert, and, we still struggled because but we got to that place where it's like nirvana. It's Satori. It is that heaven on earth, and that blissful life along the way where you're just skipping down the path. And I'm thankful and I'm grateful to be in that place and to build and grow relationships with people like you. Now, I heard you say you're only 27 American.
Yeah, good memory, my friend. So people will sometimes say, how old are you? And I'll say, well, do you want it in American or do you want it in total? Because I've only been in the US 27 years, but my first 2 years in the US were extraordinarily challenging for me, because I had to unlearn everything I'd learned in my prior time. So I was 39 when I moved here, so that if people can do math and they know how old I am in total. But yeah, so I learned pretty quickly, and I got exposed to a lot of different things in the first 39 years of my life. But as soon as I arrived here and I showed up with 2 suitcases with no American dollars in my pocket, and the guy that was supposed to pick me up from the airport didn't. So my first challenge was, how the heck do I get from St. Louis Airport, which was 22 miles north of the hotel I was in, with no American dollars and not understanding, really anything about the language and the culture. So that was a great wake-up call. It's like, I did get to the hotel. I got there safely. I figured out how to get the hotel manager to pay the cabbie for me, which was cool. And I remember unpacking the first t-shirt out of my bag, and I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, Bruce, what have you done? And that feeling continued for almost 2 years, because that was a great awakener, as it were, because I had to unlearn for 2 years and relearn everything. I had to relearn everything again. So it was like being a toddler. It was not always easy, that was for sure. Made a lot of mistakes. I made a lot of goofy things happen, and I made people laugh, and I made people cry, and everything in between, literally, in that first 2 years, because I was sometimes they say somebody's a hot mess, and I was a hot mess. I didn't have a clue what I was doing, but I made it. And you learn good stuff along the way. So I'm curious about your take care guidance. What's kind of the worst thing you've experienced in recently that you want to share with us, so we can avoid doing that, as it were?
Yeah, I don't have bad days. Like, I haven't had a bad day, and like, I can't even remember when. But the worst thing.
What do you see other people doing that you wish you could, don't do that? What are some of those moments? I'm sure you have some of those still.
I think when people are afraid, they're just locked up in fear, literally. And this is, a very strong business community. But I was talking to a friend of mine in Miami, and I've got a bunch of friends in Miami, and I have a lot of friends all over the world, and
right.
And to an extent, I'm almost unrelatable in that capacity. And I recognized that when I was having this conversation with my friend, because she said to me, I can't even, it's completely unrelatable. I'm in a condo here, and you're out on your property and growing your garden. And, it's just, you're not wearing a mask. You're not any of these things. And I'm like, yeah, I'm free. And even when, even when it's necessary for others for me to wear a mask, I'll wear a mask if that's what you need me to do to be comfortable, or if it's,
right.
To be compliant. But the ideology that their worlds are all locked up in these things, and the truth is change is happening all the time. It's constant, it's rapid, and it's not fear of change, because we know it's just being uncomfortable in what we've accepted as the norm. We're all changing. It's constant. It's never going to stop. It's how can you transition in change? So if I could say anything, it's like, trust that the universe is good for you. Trust that God, whatever it is, that it's for you, not against you. And that kind of faith, because whether you're right or you're wrong, you're right.
Yeah.
And so, whether you dream big or you dream small, it's only everything. You might as well, so truly, it's, I wouldn't, it would be unauthentic of me if I were to say that my passion wasn't to come from the deepest place in my heart, and to like live that way, knowing that I can't get it wrong. Look, I've had huge success and huge failure. I've had both ends of those spectrums, and I prefer success because success is really getting what you want. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to miss my path. Like, I don't want to feed one aspect of my life that is going to consume other aspects where I'm going to miss out. I want to have a balanced life, and that's what we call being, Pono, being in that zone, in that
Right.
flow.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I could say anything, it's like, man, be alive. Just like you said, I really appreciate you taking that accountability to alive and
Mm-hmm.
bridging that gap, because that's really what it is, are you going to be fully alive? Are you
Right.
going to be, because once you engage in that, once you take 100% responsibility for your world, look, man, you can't get this wrong. And all you're doing is coming up against yourself. That's
Right.
it. Because it's all for you. Like, the entire universe is conspiring to bless you and those you dearly love. You really can't get this wrong.
Yeah. Well, we are kind of coming near time, so a little visual for some practical people is I used to have to, well, not used to have to. I used to share the concept of flow with people, and the way that I used to get people to realize that, you can either make something flow very easily, and I used to get them to get a really small piece of rope, and I used to try and ask them, why don't you push this piece of rope uphill from the bottom? And of course, it wouldn't go anywhere. It just used to all crumple up like a big bowl of spaghetti on the floor. And then I used to say to them, well, why don't you go the other end of the rope? Why don't you just gently pull it, pull it nice and steady in your own time and pace? And they would go, oh, so yeah, you can pull a piece of rope, but you can't push a piece of rope. And that's kind of to me, what I visualize what you just described. So if you can, whatever your alignment is, get on your rope and start pulling it and not push it. Because the more you push it, the bigger bowl of spaghetti mess you'll get with your rope on the floor, right?
I think you're right. I don't think you can push anybody. People want to come play with you or they don't.
Right.
And it's just be what you want to experience. And I think that there's so much to be said about really niching down, like in getting very, very specific on what it is you want to experience. Don't be afraid to exclude the larger part, right? You're not going to miss out on the larger part. But when you
Right.
get really, really hone in on who it is, what it is you want to play with, even for a short time, you can cultivate and create the experiences pretty rapidly. They manifest pretty quickly when you get really, really clear.
Yeah.
And you've got some processes. We're going to have to spend some more time offline so I can learn, right?
Sure.
And
Lots of processes. I'm a process guy through and through. Have been from a little kid, so I've been doing it a long time. But yeah, love to continue either another time on another segment, or we can continue one-on-one. But good segue. How do people best reach you if they want to come and learn to play with Rick a little bit more, as you put it? So what's the best way for people to reach you, Rick?
probably just Rick@PonoQuest.com, or go to PonoQuest.com and set up a free account. There's some priceless gift there. If right now, if you use probably use the code Pono gift.
Pono,
PONOGIFT. If they use
Okay.
that code Pono gift, we'll give them that priceless gift from Dusty. This
Awesome.
take care. I mean, I don't know how else to put it, but that's the billionaire's best kept secret. And we've figured out how to just enjoy life holistically and bring it full circle. And I'm blessed to know you. I want to spend more time with you. Teach me your process so I can learn and grow. And that way you can teach me how to connect you to the people, to get really specific and connect you with the people that are in my audience. because
Right.
that's who I want to. I want to be specific, and I want to get you on to what you want to experience too.
Sure. Well, my specifics are pretty straightforward. I work best with business owners or entrepreneurs, and they can be any industry, any size, anywhere on the planet. And because most businesses, whether they're small, medium, or large, or the people that are hired by the businesses, they have their processes that are wasting process steps, time, and money. So I am a master at being able to identify how to reduce or eliminate all those wasted process steps, time, and money. So that's what simpler, faster, better is.
So Lean, Six Sigma.
Yeah, any of those, right. Those are the highfalutin, lots of acronyms that nobody really understands. So I took 40 years of knowledge in that stuff. And my simpler, faster, better approach is all of those things, but it's all of those things that work. They're not all those things that work in theory. They're all those things that work really hands-on. And the reason I know they work is I've proven them to work because I've done them with others, right? So
yeah,
the best life lesson is stuff that works, right? The stuff that is theoretical, you know?
I get that. I own a commercial real estate brokerage and a development company, and it's you want to deal with stuff that works. You want to deal with something that's real in reality.
Yeah. And simple. And simple. People overcomplicate. They always overcomplicate. You know, businesses they're just people and process. And we forget that they're just people and process. And about 60% what I call people engineering and 40% process engineering. And if you just get that together, you can do amazing things with a company.
All right, I'm gonna push back a little bit.
Okay.
Because I don't believe the people and the process part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me how you integrate the heart, because I know you have heart, and I know and I know it's got to work, right? So I want to know how you integrate the heart aspect into this people process. Peel back the onion a little bit. Let people know how you do this and why they can trust you to come into their company and really get their process on. Right. Tell me how you're going to touch their heart in this process.
Sure. So the people piece, and I call it maybe disrespectfully people engineering, that is understanding every person has what's important to them, or the favorite radio station is 𝑊𝒖𝒓M, which is what's in it for me or what's in it for them. And what I do is I spend a lot of time individually and in a group dynamic understanding, what are they all about? What is really passionate for them? What matters to them? And what doesn't matter to them? And when you understand that, and then you look at the processes that they're either forcing themselves to do or they're being forced to do, right? Then you dissect, it all starts at the center around the people. Now, when you can energize their creativity around, hey, what if you had no restraints, no boss, no resource limitations, show me how you'd like the process to be. Because I work in a no box situation. When I get to work deeply with a mature group of cross-functional people and they understand me and I understand them, I'll say to them, no limitations. How does the process look? And I'll have them draw it. I'll have them draw it on the wall, on the floor, whatever. And then what we do is just say, okay, what stops us from going from where we are now to where we need to be? And that's the plan. The plan is let's simpler, faster, better it to where we are now to where it needs to be. And amazing things happen. That's how it happens. So that's
right. It's simply faster, better.
Yeah. It is. And what you do is you eliminate all the goofy process steps, time, and money.
I like it. I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
I really appreciate your time, Bruce. Thank you for spending time with me. Thank you for teaching me.
That's right.
This is something that you've mastered.
I can, and I'm going to be a little arrogant. I can kind of do it in my sleep. I can process map in my head because I've done it so many different ways, so many different times. And then my real gift is I see the discombobulation in the process before other people see it.
So how do you have time?
How do I have time to go do it?
Yeah, where do you spend your time? How do you have time? Is it one-on-one? Is it business? Do you go into an organization and simplify their process? Or are you going one-on? Who's your ideal client?
So if it's, well, again, it's business owner and entrepreneurs. Typically, they're in a certain, not really age range, but their mindset is a certain way. So I have a whole list of characteristics that are too numerous to mention out. So I have that as a characteristic avatar, which I'm more than happy to share with anyone. And again, the avatar of the characteristics has come from individuals, groups, and companies that I've worked with over my past. So it's real life. Again, it's real life stuff based on what worked. Now, have I made big mistakes? Have I messed things up? Absolutely. But I've only ever.
I hope so. I hope so. I mean, no disrespect intended, but I rarely work with anybody who has not. I mean, it's just important, right? Like I've crashed hard. I mean, you don't get to a place where you got a $20 million net worth and then go down to a negative 10 and come back into a place where you're building generational wealth. I used to teach wealth creation formulas. That was what I understood. Real estate. And yet I took it full circle because I could see the flaw. I could see the error in just that's one piece, right? There's so much more, but that's something that I've mastered.
Sure. All right. Well, thank you, sir. We are way past my, but we're good. So if you just hang on a little minute and I'll let you know where the stuff will go. Thanks, Rick.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate you, Bruce.
All right, man. Hang on.
Aloha.